Hey traders, Raghee here. Welcome to another episode of Charts and Coffee. Great to see everybody. All right, happy Wednesday, everyone. We're actually going to kick things off with a quick look at the calendar here. Good to see everybody. Yes, good morning, good morning. All right, so let's do this here. I want to walk you guys through what's going to be a very interesting handful of days. All right, this is Forex Factory. Don't get freaked out by the whole Forex thing. This is just a very, very thorough calendar that covers economic events across the globe. And as a futures trader, if you're trading pre-market, if you're trading after hours, you need to know what's happening outside of the US markets. And this is an excellent way to do it. So here we are on the Wednesday. Now, some basic stuff, gang. You'll notice that we have the ADP non-farm payroll coming out. That's your precursor. That's your heads up to NFP on Friday, non-farm payroll on Friday. We have our crude oil inventories, which is a neat little day trade that I like to look at in the CL, in the RB. You can even do this in the USO or even the UGA ETFs. So this is a crude oil inventories, nice volatility, big volatility event, and that's at 10:30. So there are some interesting things on the calendar. But what's most interesting is we are one day, one session in front of, let's scroll down into Thursday. Tomorrow, this is Kapowell right there, just after noon Eastern. All right, and he's going to be speaking at a Wall Street Journal event. This will be the last time likely that we're going to hear from the Fed chair before the next FOMC meeting, which is, as you can see here, still a good 2 weeks away. So the barrage of Fed members we're seeing right now in many ways is just designed to combat the fear we're seeing that the Federal Reserve may not have a control of the longer end of the yield curve and may not be as realistic or as forthcoming or as aware of what the bond market is saying about inflation. Now, what I'm showing you are Fed fund futures at the moment. Fed fund futures have calmed down. And I think if you take a look most recently at the action in the bond market, don't limit your look at bonds to TLT. Great market to trade for sure. But if you want that more 24-hour look, not the 9:30 to 4 that the TLT ETF will give you, look at the ZB futures contract. You can pull this up on many platforms. You don't have to trade the ZB, but this is not what we want to see if the equity markets are going to rally. I don't mind the market finding a range, which is arguably, you can say this is a range that we're going to find in here. You'd like this to kind of cling to some of this volume area in that area right there. But we're pushing down through, as you can see right now, we're pushing down through some zones that I would have just preferred. If you're a stock market bull, you would have really loved the market to kind of hang on to those two support levels. While we haven't gotten too far below them, heads up for a move below 158. All right, heads up for that, because if we break that level, and even before that, but that would be a huge psychological level, watch the equity markets. That could get a little bit of, we could see a little bit of an unravel if that occurs. Okay, so that's sort of what's on my mind to kick off the day. Let's grab some questions. Hey there, Gary. Good morning. I'm noticing a pattern that the futures look fairly strong in the overnight, but then we get significant pullbacks prior to the US Open. What causes that? So a lot of folks will call that the pajama traders, overnight trading. Overnight trading is compared to 9:30 to 4:15 p.m. Eastern. Overnight trading is far less liquid than is the, say, 8:15, 9:15 Eastern forward. Okay, so the market's able to do a lot of this in the evening, and this has been a pattern that's been occurring for some time, where you'll notice that once the markets close, I'm going to go to a 1-minute chart here. And I'm going to walk us back to about 8 p.m. Eastern. So right here, there's your 2200 hours. There's 8 p.m. Look at about 8:30 what we're seeing, and that's not uncommon. That has not been uncommon. Trading the Asian session can actually be it's a separate thing, but it can be a very profitable part of the day, whether it goes up or down. But yes, that's sort of the pajama traders, as they say. And that's not been an uncommon thing. We've been seeing that. What causes that? Different financial centers are open. Now you're talking Auckland, Sydney, Tokyo, Hong Kong, Singapore. Then where I would tell you, if you are going to trade that part of the world, and I've been I don't do it as often, but I've been watching that part of the trade because I've been a Forex trader since 99, 2000. And that's sort of the beginning of the Forex trading day. Frankly, that's the beginning of everyone's trading day, right? That's the new day. Every new day starts in basically Auckland. So what causes that is just a different financial center, different turnover, different liquidity. And look at what's happening with the markets during the Asian session. Just beware that if you're going to see an abrupt shift, usually that's going to happen if you're an overnight trader, overnight or after hours, whatever you want to call it. If you're going to sometimes see an abrupt shift, it's going to be with the Paris and Frankfurt Open. So always keep an eye on 2 a.m. It could be an acceleration, as we saw today, or it could be the market just falling right off a cliff. So be aware that you've got this Asian session trading, and then all of a sudden, here comes the European, and at 3 a.m., here comes the UK. So there you go. I hope that walks you through that. Gold. What is my outlook on gold? All right. So gold right now, actually always, is a real yield conversation. And that means that I'm looking at basically what is happening with real yield curve rates, mainly the 30-year. So if we're going to see gold rally, the yield has to drop. That's it. I mean, that's it. So when you say long term, I would look at what's going on with bonds right now and yields. Really that's where I would tell you that you've got to focus on not so much a flight to safety. If you're looking for a little bit more clarity, my friend, rather than gold, I would say, rather than gold, what I would say is you probably want to look at copper or silver, because that's a clearer look. Copper and silver are going to benefit from the macro environment that we're in a much clearer way. And if you guys aren't aware of these macro environments that I talk about, I've got a breakdown of the macroeconomics and where we are. This is a really good breakdown here at countdowntrader.com. And that should clarify why I'll tell you, not so much gold right now. Think about copper, think about silver. Okay. Thank you for the question. All right, moving on. Kim, I'm sorry. Wait, there you are. Good morning, Mike. Kim, good morning. Our session was great. And thank you very, very much. Yeah, Kim, we're going to keep diving into one of the things that we're going to do, for those of you that don't know what Sector Secrets is, it's my separate, and this is actually giving you a look at the dashboard. It's my separate service where we get into the way that I trade options and stocks and in ETFs. In fact, we actually sent out some alerts and things like corn, beans, crude oil, because you can trade those futures contracts via ETFs, ETF options. So and we meet once a month, but we actually have a live trading session once a month, and we meet every single week. And what we're going to start to do is meet during, I think as of probably next week, we're going to meet during the morning so we can look at some shorter term setups that confirm some of our longer term setups. But every week, Kim, I hope we can deep dive a particular topic. And yesterday's was a bigger picture conversation about the commodities and some of the macro. I think we're probably going to keep coming back to that topic for a few more weeks to come, at least. I think we've got a really good cycle in terms of bullishness and a handful of commodities setting up. And I need to put up silver. I keep going to the ruble. That's just the way that there we go. There's your silver. So I would, for the question about gold, please take a look at copper. Please take a look at silver. And yeah, I think that session, we're definitely gonna do more of that, Kim, every week. So that's been great. Chewy on my mind. Hey, there's Steven. All right, let's take a look at CHWY. So tricky with Chewy. Here's a couple interesting things about Chewy. All right, and I'm going to do a couple of things with this, Steve, and you've probably seen me do this before. But those of you that are not familiar with the way that we can take a longer term time frame and dive into some of the, say, 1 hour structure, volume, check out yesterday's free video. If you're on YouTube, it's in the Simpler Trading channel. And I rather than, a lot of times traders will look at the daily and go up, which is fine. But remember, you're talking about two different time horizons when you're talking about daily and weekly, meaning not time frame, time horizon. How far out could the trade or trend continue versus looking at some granular information about where could the trade trigger, right? Anyway, Chewy. Do I want to short Chewy? I actually do not want to short Chewy. Why? It's no, love for Chewy that I'm being, blind to the transition that we've seen. But take a look right here. And this is all the stuff that I teach you guys, whether we're day trading in the futures room, whether we're doing our longer term trading in the mastery. By the way, I think a lot of you know this. What's happening in the markets right now? It's tricky, right? The kind of movement we're seeing, it's pretty tricky. So don't feel like, oh gosh, this should be as easy as 2020 felt. Oh gosh, no, gang, this is not 2020. All right. In fact, the kind of things that we're able to do in 2020, not yet. I do think we're going to see the trends continue, but January and February have been tough. And Chewy's a pretty good example of this really nice uptrend. As you can see right about here, breaking. How do I know that? Take a look at this area down in there. Okay. So first of all, start with the structure. This could be an oversold buy, or let's dial this down to a 1 hour chart. Anything I can glean from this? Not yet. How about the 15-minute? This could be interesting. I might, on a 15-minute, if this zone of support holds in here, and we've got perhaps this low holding right in there, I might look for the market to stage a reversal through whatever this swing high may be, if we bounce, and through the resistance of the wave. And so that's something that I'll look for. That could be an intraday setup to watch to confirm that Chewy indeed is on the upswing again. Okay, that's something you can do, Stephen. Wave reversal with a 1, 2, 3 CCI confirmation. I know that's a mouthful, but it's a really slick little chart pattern. A lot of folks will play the swing low and they'll Momo chase it up. And then what happens? The market pulls back, maybe making a 38.2, 50%, 618% retracement of this move. And they get shaken out, even though that's just the next swing low that we're going to use to set up the eventual momentum break. Okay, it's a neat little pattern. I call it a wave reversal or a wave 1, 2, 3 with CCI confirmation. I created this for myself when I was trading Forex, because intraday reversals on intraday reversals on a 24-hour market are pretty commonplace. But I only do this intraday, preferably a 60-minute time frame or less. All right, so I hope that makes sense. So in many ways, it's using this neat little day trade setup, intraday setup, to confirm a longer term move. All right. Next up, CL options projected expiration to June. CL options projected. I'm not quite sure of the question, my friend, but I do like the long play in crude. Oh gosh, yeah. But let me mention this. The one thing that we have this week on the 4th, and remember, today's the 3rd, so we're going to start to see some chatter, and that is OPEC. We've got OPEC coming up. And I don't believe we quite have a kumbaya moment between the Saudis and the Russians. They don't. What's under discussion is, can they raise the production? In other words, they've got these production cuts in place. They just got a boost in terms of price. and production coming offline with the freeze that ran through Texas affecting Eagle Basin, Permian Basin. So that output, that U.S. output fell. And remember, U.S. is up there in terms of output globally with Russia. Russia is your U.S., Russia. I mean, I think U.S. even has overtaken Russia as the number one output in terms of crude, light sweet crude. So with that being said, right now, Saudis and Russians are going back and forth trying to figure out, that's OPEC plus, right? What to do with production. They want to increase it. But they know if they increase production and then the U.S. comes back online at full force, they don't want to set up another massive drop. So it's a really careful game they play where they don't want prices to go down too much, but they do want prices to be low enough to, and I don't even know that they're trying to wage that battle anymore, which is keep prices low enough to keep the U.S. production offline or relatively unprofitable. Because per well, it's actually a lower profit margin than what the Russians and the Saudis have. Anyways, without getting into a lot of detail there, let's look for some OPEC volatility. Let's buy into that OPEC volatility. That's something that I am setting up, not only in CL, but some of you are saying, Rog, I don't trade futures. You got to watch them though, friends. You got to watch the futures markets. Cash and commodities, gang, it moves the market. And so this week, folks are getting a really good lesson in the futures contract called the bonds and those yield curves and spreads moving the equity markets around. If you're looking at crude oil, you can trade the USO. You can trade the UGA. Those are your ETF alternatives. Of course, if crude pulls back, I would pay extra careful attention to the oil services and oil explorers, OIH, XOP for a pullback, because energy in general has been en fuego right now. So if we get a pullback in crude, we get a pullback in gasoline, maybe we get a pullback in these very strong relative outperforming sectors, there's a lot of opportunity that we can see as we go into the end of this week. So thanks for the question on crude. All right. Next up is, let's see, Steve. I'll tell you what, Steve, in most of my life, I am anything but patient, but somehow or other, you put the charts of the market in front of me, the best me, luckily, knock on wood, shows up. And I don't want to be a twitchy trader. The older I'm getting as a trader, my time frames in many ways are getting longer because I don't want to say diamond hands and hodling, but there is a benefit that we get from time. Don't get me wrong. I love day trading. And the first 2 hours a day. Love it. I'm going to do that in about 12 minutes here. But having the ability to find those longer term trends, you find those great traders that are written about in Market Wizards, and you find those great traders that own football and baseball teams now. Most of them are trend traders. They use time. I mean, gosh, not that he's as relevant as he has been in the past. His annual letter just came out, and I'm talking, of course, about Grandpa Buffett, Warren Buffett. He is in many ways the trend trader, the original diamond hands, the original hodler in a lot of ways, and in certain market, in certain ways when you look at what they hold at Berkshire Hathaway, if you keep an eye on those 13Fs. So I know a lot of times people want to sort of bash, I call him Grandpa Buffett, because everyone who's come as a trend trader since kind of realized, put time on your side. And I'm realizing if you can put time on your side, if you can get those good entries on pullbacks, be patient about when you're deploying your capital, like a good chess move. Or those of you that might be into jiu-jitsu, right? Anyone who's a jiu-jitsu player knows most of your jiu-jitsu move is really preparing for where you want to put your opponent. It's a lot of preparation. It's very slow sometimes. You're just trying to make space. You're just trying to get an elbow or, anyways. Patience, gang. Yeah, I don't know how I brought up jiu-jitsu first thing in the morning, but anyway. Is there a good underlying to copper? Yes, Coop, and thank you for the question, or thank you for the comment, Steve. I really appreciate that. But I've learned from the people who have, come before me, and I've learned how they use time, and I'm doing that more and more as I believe I still mature as a trader. And I'm almost 34, 5 years into this, and I'm still finding myself maturing as a trader, getting better. Anyway, yes, Coop, Freeport, McMoran. We have trades on Freeport, McMoran that we've continued to pursue since before earnings and after. And that's a really good proxy. I call it the stock proxy to copper. So thank you so much. All right. Am I still bullish? Yes, Glenn. Glenn, I've even got, I don't know if you can see it, I've even got my bull shirt on today. I've even got the bull shirt on today. Yes. Going into a day that's 24 hours in front of Powell, yes, we might see a lot more volatility. Like I said, bonds are not foreshadowing an easy day, but it is difficult to not be bullish in front 24 hours, a session in front of a Powell event. After Powell, all bets are off. A lot of folks are expecting the market could rally and turn over. Well, let's get specific to the catalyst for something like that. Keep an eye on Powell. But generally speaking, we are in a reflation environment, gang. I want to be long copper, possibly long silver, short dollars, long dolls like Canadian dollar, Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar. I want to be long the pound. And yes, I want to be more discerning, but I want to be long US equities. Maybe not in the broader index sense, but we've talked in the free videos, we talked about this in Sector Secrets. Find the relative outperforming sectors and stocks. They're out there, gang. We've talked about them a lot in these sessions. Check out the free videos. Join me in Sector Secrets. That's what we do. Find the relative outperformers. What's a relative outperformer? We talked about 3 markets right here related to oil: XLE, OIH, XOP. Keep an eye on SMH. Keep an eye on XLF, CRE. These are banks right now. My gosh, they're getting money for free and they're lending it out. I mean, regional banks are on fire. So keep an eye on those. All right, gang. I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same station. Thank you as always for joining me for Charts and Coffee. Yes, let's get after it. All right, gang. I'll see you tomorrow. Be good to each other.